Audio Jungle. Audio Jungle. Audio Jungle.
Welcome to Wild Child Records. I'm your host, Jay Stoyan. You're watching live right now on our Disability Channel Facebook page. We love comments. We love interacting. We sure will comment back. So again, you're watching Wild Child Records. This show is about a platform bridging the gap between superstar musicians like the one we're going to be having on and independent musicians, giving everybody an opportunity, bleeding new breath, new life into the world of music. And on the show today, we have from Sweet, we have back by popular demand, of course, he's our pal now. We have Richie and Nori. He just finished a show in Alberta, and he's going to tell us all about it. Along with, we have independent superstar artists. We have Shalane Stebner on the show today. So actually, Shay went to the show with Richie. So we're going to have them on and talk about how they interacted, how the show went. Big shout out to Helix out there. We love Helix. So again, Wild Child Records, we have lots going on. And in the second half, I'm going to turn into a little bit of a fan for Richie. So stay tuned. We got some interesting questions coming up. Again, I'm Jay Stoyan. You're watching Wild Child Records. We'll be right back.
This is the Disability Channel telling you to check out Nova Scotian country singer Fraser Newcomb. Blending his own brand of Canadian country and often brandishing his signature lobster-shaped guitar, Fraser Newcomb is a bold new face in the country music scene. Check him out today.
Welcome back to the show. Again, I'm Jay Stoyan. On the show today, we have superstar, the drummer from Sweet. We have Richie and Nori. I see you guys' guitar there. Give us a lick there, Rich. Oh, maybe he's frozen. There you go.
Hey, oh yeah.
How cool is that? Like all the way from LA, the home of rock and roll, Eagles, Sweet, everybody. Thanks, Rich. You're such a rock and roll superstar. We really appreciate being on today. And right beside you, we have independent musician superstar, Shalane Stebner. Shay, thanks for being on the show today.
Thanks for having me. I'm so excited.
Well, I know you're at work, so I really appreciate taking out the busy time of your schedule. I know you're at the salon. Give a big shout out to your salon. Give us the name of your salon.
Lux Salon and Boutique in Pinoca, living the best life we can.
The best salon in Alberta. So make sure you check out Shay. Give us your website, Shay. Where can people find the salon?
That's a great question. Just go on YouTube, or not YouTube, on Instagram and Facebook. Just look up Lux Salon and Boutique, and then it'll take you right to us.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. So what I wanted to do is I wanted to bring you guys back on, and we're live on Facebook, so we know people are watching and commenting. Thanks so much. And Richie was kind enough to invite Shay to a VIP appearance in Alberta. So Shay, why don't you take it away and just sort of start from the start and then zoom through and tell us some of your highlights and experiences. Then Richie can jump in, of course, too.
Yeah, absolutely. So I got the absolute honor to be able to sit in the audience and watch their sound check. And that was amazing. You know, everybody kind of does different things for their sound check, but man, these guys they're true professionals. And it was so fun to watch them just rock out. And I know at a previous conversation that we've all had, Jay, you had mentioned that it would be really funny to like mic him. and see what he sounds like when he's drumming. And that, like, just watching him, he's like screaming, and like it was so phenomenal. And then so then that was amazing. And so that was early on in the afternoon, and then after they were done, then I got to go up and meet all the guys, which was so cool. They're so nice. They're just, they're just people. They're so amazing. And then we got to go into the green room, and I think we talked for like an hour and a half about, gosh, everything possible. Found out some very exciting things about him that I didn't know, and maybe some things that maybe he'll share in the next couple of years. But definitely it was such a highlight, and I just felt so blessed to be included in something like that. And then after we were done our conversation, I sent them all to their rooms to go to bed because their show was way later in the evening. So it's hard when you're when you gotta stay up so late. So so yeah, and then their show was phenomenal. I mean, Helix and Sweet was just like beyond anything that you could ever imagine. It just was a real rock show, and it was such an honor to be there.
So before I bring in Richie, I just want to ask you this question, Shay. So as an independent artist and going to the show, what did it do for your vibe? Like, what did it do for your soul?
I mean, it just like I don't know. I feel like the best way to say it is like my cup floweth over. Like there was just so much. I felt so welcomed, and I felt so important. Because I mean these I'm but a very tiny ant in this giant world, and for them to just like be so kind and so welcoming and so just so open to conversing and sharing with me. It's just a really great reminder that there are some really good people out there still, and everybody just has a great big heart. And it's not ever a competition. It's always camaraderie in the music scene. That's something that we struggle with remembering, right? So it definitely was just so nice that they just kind of like bear hugged me with like love and information, and it was so wonderful. It was so good.
I'm so happy to hear that, because that's really what I wanted you to do, right? I wanted you to go to a big time superstar show and just soak it all in and have a great experience, and then come back on the show and smile and tell us. And you did it. So I feel like I was a little part of making a little bit of a dream come true and furthering your career, because now you're, like you said, you're filled, you got passion, you got soul, you met a great contact, right? So, Richie, I cannot thank you enough for showing your kindness and the VIP and opening your arm and the bands to Shay. And like, thank you so much for doing that, Richie. Like, that's a sign of a true superstar.
I also had to help him open his sandwich container.
So let's flip over to Richie now. Richie, tell us what you're like. Tell us your answer for what she just said. Like, how does that make you feel?
Well, everybody starts off not being known. Okay. So we're all, it doesn't matter where you come from in the country, or bottom line is that you can be discovered at any time. So when I heard her music and I went, oh my goodness, she's got talent. So she has the talent. She has the enthusiasm. If that's what she wants to do with her career, or whatever she wants to do with it, or if it's for fun, or what her objectives are, truly she has an energy that is totally effusive. I mean, it's amazing. And, everybody knows me from Sweet, but I'm getting ready to launch the Ballroom Blitz country version. We're shooting the video. I already cut the track. And I have Janae Flanor, who won the CMAs for 4 years in a row on violin. I mean, when I told her that, she goes, Janae Flanor. So I'm getting ready to fly her out to San Diego. And even though she doesn't know it yet, but where there's going to be like 60 dancers doing two-step to Ballroom Blitz, my version of it, which is already cut. It's already in the can, and it's going to be fantastic. So people don't know a lot about. And so when I talk to Shalyn, she's like a country. I mean, when you hear her voice, you're like, okay. So we had that going, so being a rock drummer and playing with everybody you could ever imagine, with all the genres, being in Sweet for close to 2 decades and all these experience, I'm in the same situation with her. I'm building my future with my music, what I'm doing. So we really kind of hit it off on that. And then she opened my sandwich container, which means a lot to me because I would have never eaten. Yeah.
That's so funny.
Save the
That's so
day.
funny. And did how did the rest of the band members, like, what, did they know what was going on? You know, because sometimes people are a little, they got a routine and they don't, you know what I mean? They don't want to be distracted. So how did the rest of the band include? Did she meet Helix too, or just you guys?
Just you guys.
Just Sweet, just Sweet. Yeah.
Yeah.
So how did the rest of the band take? Did they meet Shay or not really, or did they? Richie, yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh,
yeah,
great.
they met, and since I'm kind of I'm the ringleader of Sweet, so to speak. I'm the, they better behave, for any of my friends that I involve. I'm kind of like their boss, but no, they're fantastic. Everybody in the band is so gracious of so many. It doesn't matter. Everybody's very, grateful for what we do, to be able to do what we do in front of so many people, and we're humbled to meet people, and we sign autographs forever, and we meet everybody. We take time with everybody that we meet. So it's
Very nice. Hey, Richie, for people watching, so for people watching us right now, can you take us through like the steps of the concert, like how long the concert was, how many sets you guys played? Did you guys go the whole time? Did you go an hour and a half? Who played first, you guys or Helix? Just so our viewers understand.
Yeah, Helix came on, and we played a festival. I forget where it was at. I think it's Saskatchewan or wherever with them. And I kind of heard them from the background at that. But this time I got to see them, and they rocked the crowd. They were really good. I mean, they were, the audience was just going freaking nuts for Helix. So those guys, you're backstage, and they're in their room, and we're there, and we're like bros. Everybody's like, hey. We just all talk with each other, and we met them before, and we look forward to doing more stuff with Helix up there. But from there, you do your sound check, and I forget, was it a long set where it was a 45-minute set, or did I do my drum solo, Shalane?
It was a 45-minute set.
Okay, yeah. So we miss, like, for instance, we're playing the Golden Nugget, Las Vegas. We do a 90-minute set. So this was a short set. On Friday we play that, where I get to do my drum solos. And since I make sure that I inserted the drum solo, because what I said, I run the verse. And the best part of the whole show is the drum solo. No, just kidding.
Obviously.
That's so cool. Well, I just want to let people know, like, in honor of you coming on today, I had to wear my Rolling Stones, like my classic rock and roll shirt, which we're going to get to later on the show. So, Shay, do you have any more questions for Richie, or anything that you can share to your fans, to people watching? What can you say?
I think that the best part about this experience was just a reminder that everybody is just people, and everybody has such a big heart, and like Richie said, we all start somewhere, and the fact that somebody as amazing as Richie just kind of took me under his wing and was just like, here, let me introduce you to everybody, let me show you around, da da da, and it was just like. It's so cool, and I think that the biggest thing is that you'll never know until you ask, right? So if there's ever a time that you want to try something or meet somebody, all you gotta do is ask. Somebody's got to contact somewhere. So
That's great, Shay. Again, Shay, before we let you go, because I know you got to get back to work, because you're a working girl, 9 to 5, cutting that hair.
Yeah.
So if people want to find out more about your music, or they want to connect with you, where could they go?
Yep. So you can go www.shalanesdebner.com. There's Instagram and Facebook. You can find me on all streaming platforms. Pretty much, it's a very, very unique name. So there's not a lot of Shalanes out in the world.
That's great, Shay. Thank you so much. Thanks to Big
Thank
Records.
you.
What we're going to do, we're going to take a quick break. Thanks for commenting. Our Facebook page is blowing up, by the way. So we're going to take a quick break and come back with the drummer from Sweet. I got so many questions for Richie. Stay tuned. You're watching Wild Child Records.
Bye, Shay.
See you, Richie.
This is the Disability Channel telling you to check out rock group Special Agent Sunshine from BC, featuring singer Bipolar Man and producer M Rock. Listen to their new single, 1,000 Highways Today, and feel the sunshine.
Welcome back to Wild Child Records. Now it's a one-on-one with superstar from Sweet, Richie and Nori. Richie, thanks again for doing the show today. Thank you for, giving a shout out and giving big props to independent musicians trying to break into the, the music scene. We all know it's tough, so any help is much appreciated. Let's get to now you just mentioned about playing the Golden Nugget. What a legendary location. Tell us about that gig. When you doing it? Blah, blah, blah. Tell us the details.
Well, it's this Friday, and I really like the Golden Nugget because it's such a historic place. And because we play it a couple times a year for many, many years now, they love to have us, they privy us to the Frank Sinatra room. And that's a backstage that they don't let everybody in there, but they let Sweet and our guests to come and join us in the Frank Sinatra room. And when you go into that Frank Sinatra room, it just blows people away because, that's where the Rat Pack was. So you're in a historic place. And just the whole thing with that casino, it's just, you got Fremont Street, which I'm sure a lot of your viewers go to Vegas and they know Fremont Street. And, it's a beautiful pool area. And they have the aquarium that's right. You go through a tubes where you go through the slides, and you're going through where sharks are. Sharks are going live. Sharks, these big sharks are going. So
wow.
it's a very cool. The whole setting, I always enjoy that, and we're treated so nice there. It's we're there for a few days, and everything is just we're treated as we should. It's just a beautiful.
I'm so glad that the Golden Nugget, though, is still there. Like, wow. Now you shared that Frank Sinatra story because I interviewed Frank Sinatra Jr. and he was all about the Rat Pack and talked about Dean and Sammy and his dad and Lauren and Humphrey. And so when you mentioned the green room and Frank Sinatra, I got goosebumps. Like, so let me ask you, Richie, because like you said, you're an established superstar. You've been in the business for a long time. How do you stay relevant? Like, you know what I mean? Because you seem to be playing all the time, and there must be a lot of competition, right? But so what's your secret without giving away your secret?
Well, being an associate and being involved, when Steve Priest put Sweet together, his version here in the U.S., I was with, I was a well-known person. I was in a band, Heaven and Earth, and I was touring with everybody else from Keith Emerson and so many different people at that time. So he asked me to join Sweet. Well, so when I was attached to that legacy, I realized that what an amazing thing. I can tell everything that I've done prior to Sweet, but when you're actually part of a band like this with a legacy that sold 55 million records, you realize that's your calling card. Okay. I knew where my bread was buttered. And mostly the festivals that we were playing. We played with Journey and toured all over the world. And frankly, it's just, and because I love the music so much. So that's being relevant. But is it easy is the question. Is it an easy process? It ain't. You're always working it. There's social media that you constantly have to work. You have members that are come and go. You're always having to, just like any business, to keep something going for 2 decades like we've done since Steve Priest when we formed this. Any business you go in for 20 years is an accomplishment. But the other thing is me as a songwriter and a soloist and a guitarist, and that's what feeds me my creative juices, is to be who I am, a vocalist, a songwriter, a singer, and then recording like contents. All these things give you juice. And, bottom line is that it's called the music business, Jay.
Yeah.
And I love deals. I love the art of the deal. Not to take no trumpets thing, but I love deals. And, I with my background in business, you have to have that mindset as an artist that, this is a business, and any which way you have to wiggle in to getting noticed and keeping relevant. It's an art form in itself. And that's why I've done it this many years, and I'm still relevant.
Well, thank you for sharing that, Sherry. Thank you for sharing that recipe. Very important. What I want to do, I want to take a quick break, and I'm going to take off my host cap and put on my fan cap, And we're going to come back with just some questions that I'm sure a lot of people would love the opportunity to ask. So stay tuned. You're watching Wild Child Records. We have on the show today from Sweet, the drummer, Richie Honori. We'll be right back.
This is the Disability Channel telling you to check out country singer Dan Wesley White from Del Rio, Texas. Dan is a U.S. Army veteran who blends his experiences with a unique mix of Tex-Mex, Texas swing, rock, and country influences. If that sounds up your alley, check out Dan Wesley White today.
Welcome back to Wild Child Records. We're really excited. Very special guest on today by popular demand. We have Richie Honori from the band Sweet, the drummer. He just finished a gig out in Alberta. Now he's going to the legendary Golden Nugget in Las Vegas. I want to ask Richie a couple of questions regarding being a fan and also being a little bit of an amateur musician. When it comes to song structure, Richie, how do you begin that? Like, do you have a recipe, or you just grab it out of the clouds and it changes all the time?
Well, it starts with a lick, you know. I mean, I did a song that I created. It's funny, I happened to have my guitar because you didn't ask me, but
let's go.
So this is called Running Down the Devil's Road. And this was something that happened to me in Hollywood in the 70s, where it wasn't a pretty thing. And growing up in LA, you know, stuff happens. So I came up with this, you know, it was kind of like a Johnny Cash guy. When I was a young man, gamble with my life, running with the devil every single day and night, and I got low. Running down the devil's road. So you get the content. So I already had a story there, but I think a lot of times, because I'm a self-trained guitarist, it's drumming, you know, I was totally lessons the whole thing. I kind of wanted it that way, to keep all my music as original as possible. So I'd work on a chord structure and I go, God, I've done all these songs in G. Wait, maybe I should start off with something that starts with F. And I built it that way. And I'd come up with sequences, and then I'd come up with a lyric that goes over it. Or something when I was in Hawaii one time, and with an ex-wife now that indulged a little too much. And it was a bummer. Okay, here I am in Maui up on like the 26th floor, like overlooking the beautiful ocean, and she's being a complete, one of those. So I started thinking back to growing up, and I go, God, I remember the days of innocence, you know, so I wrote that song based on I remember, and it's a nostalgia song. It's kind of like cross between Brown Eyed Girl meets the McLean song, you know, When the Music Died.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And I wrote a song about that, but it comes in all forms. It can come from a spiritual level, you know, like All the Children, about what's happening in the world, to very motivated things. And if I feel the passion, I mean, I can write, you know, what you want to do is produce your songs. And I heard your stuff, amazing. But what I like to do is, feel inspired. And when a song comes, it just starts formulating.
Now, can you do us a favor? I know you're the drummer for Ballroom Blitz, but since you got a guitar in your hand, are you able to play a little bit of Ballroom Blitz riff? Could you do that for our viewers?
Remember, mine's a country version of Ballroom Blitz.
Okay.
Instead of playing so I did it. Oh, it's been getting so hard living with the things you do to me. My dreams are getting so strange, like to tell you everything I see. I see a man in the back as her mad as fact. His eyes are as red as the sun. And the girl in the corner let no one ignore. She thinks she's the passionate one. Oh, yeah! It was like lightning. It was like lightning. It was like lightning. Everybody was frightening. And the music was soothing. And they all started grooving. Yeah! Yeah, yeah, yeah! and a man in the back said, everyone attacking and turned into a ballroom blitz. And the girl in the corner said, boy, I want to one in and turn into a ballroom. Ballroom blitz, ballroom blitz, ballroom blitz, ballroom blitz. Woo!
Wow. That is so cool, Richie. As you're playing, I can just envision the 1974 video of those guys playing in the field behind some trailer. Do you remember seeing that video? Like, that's what I see. Like, I just see it, like, so crazy. And like I've known Ballroom Blitz, the song, my whole life. And now now we're interacting and we're friends. It's mind blowing. So thank you for sharing that and just making another memory. What I want to do is I want you to give a few your first expression of these iconic bands. I just want what you think. Like this, give me your feeling and maybe one or two words, and we'll move on to the next band. So we'll just start with probably the number one band in the world, the Beatles. So your feeling on the Beatles in 2 words or whatever, a sentence.
Well, I wouldn't be playing music if it wasn't for the Beatles, because when I saw the Ed Sullivan show and I heard all the girls screaming for the Beatles, not only did I like their music, but I was sold. That's what I want to do for a living.
Okay, Zeppelin.
When I first heard Dazed and Confused and Good Times, Bad Times, I said, how is Bonham doing that? And I was blown away by Zeppelin. It was just like, okay, well, I'm a jazz drummer and I can play rock, but, Bonham's got something special.
Wow, I love that connection. That's a cool connection. The Who.
Well, I always kind of felt like me and Keith, we did recently, Sweet, if you look on the internet and you look at Sweet Does Won't Be Fooled Again, you'll hear me playing Keith Moon because we did a compilation record for Cleopatra Records. And it had everybody, guys from Def Leppard, from Cream, everybody was on this record.
Wow.
And Sweet was picked to do The Who, Won't Be Fooled Again. I always felt that I have that kind of energy as a drummer. And I think a lot of guys do as they're coming up, but still, we lived on the same street with the Who, and what can you say about the Who? It's just
wow, that's great. I love that. Rush.
Rush is because I come from a heavy progressive background, playing with Keith Emerson, and my first band was Satyr, Satyr. We were ahead of our time. We started in '75. And we were a cross between Genesis, Yes, Led Zeppelin. I'll send you my kit at the time. I had all chrome, huge Ludwig kit with a 38-inch gong behind me. So when I heard Neil Peart, and because we did all the time signatures, we did the 11-13, everything you could imagine. I was, we toured with Alice Cooper. We played Winnipeg Arena when I was like 22.
Wow.
With Sarah opening up for Alice Cooper. Welcome to my night. So when I heard Rush, I go, yeah, man. I mean, the band kind of fell apart because Rush but I was like, God, I knew what Neil was doing, and I just so much appreciated all those time signatures. I mean, that was me, progressive,
How about the Stones now?
Stones, a lot of guys, some people criticize the Stones. I've always, I listened to their early albums. I was in awe of how Mick wrote those lyrics and how Keith Richards played with 5 strings and how he created those chords. And Stones are just, and you know what? Well, I'll just say one more thing about the Stones. There is no such thing as age when it comes to rock and roll.
I just feel the Stones don't get the credit that the other big time bands get. I just like Keith. I never hear anybody, talk about Keith's talent as compared to Jimmy and and Mick. I never hear, as the lead of the band. I don't know. I just feel he gets shortchanged, and I just feel the Stones are just, like you said, maybe they're too wild for people to sort of, you know what I mean? Like they always have that bad boy reputation, and that's why maybe people don't take their music as serious as, say, the Beatles or Zeppelin or the Who, right? How about Floyd?
I mean,
Sorry, go ahead.
it's blues based, and so it's simple music, and it relates to the common man. It's like the music I create. Okay, that's what I like to do, and they come from the blues angle. So go ahead. But
That's a good. That's a really good. That's a really good point. I like that. It's a blues. Yeah, that's really good. They keep it simple. That's good. I like that. Pink Floyd. Pink Floyd.
Well, Pink Floyd is iconic, and because I just did a concert, I've got Roberta Freeman in my band who sang with them on the and Scott Page is a good friend of mine, the sax player for Pink Floyd. I've come across a lot of these I'm relating these brands because I happen to know these. Was in my rock opera. He was doing those big tours as taking over David Gilmour's spot. Robbie is just a freaking monster, and Pink Floyd is an example of creativity.
Yeah, I think they might be the most creative band of all the bands. Like their music just is so different than every other band, really. You know what I mean? Like so different. How about let's move AC/DC?
Yeah, my there's a club out here who I met, and it's called the Baked Potato in LA. Okay, and those guys, you always play AC/DC if you want to get the audience rocking, no matter what. But Matt, who's just got the gig with AC/DC, was playing this. We would play with Teddy from Guns N' Roses. We had this jam. Paul Rogers would come in. Everybody would jam at this tiny little place. And Matt, it was so great to hear Matt got the gig with AC/DC. But I forget his name. We did a double drum thing at NAMM one year, the one that played on Thunderstruck. So I've had that connection with the AC/DC lot as well. And that's the best.
Wow.
That Australian freaking rock. Forget it, man. I mean, what they did, it's just incredible.
That's great. A couple more, and then we're pretty much, I'll let you go because I know you got a busy schedule. Queen.
Well, Queen totally changed my life. And it also it influenced my band Saturn as well, because our guitarist was a big Brian May fan. But I was there when they first broke, and I was invited to Santa Monica Civic to see Queen do Sheer Heart Attack, and they started off as Now I'm Here. I mean, it was freaking amazing. And then after there was a party in Beverly Hills. So I was there, and
wow.
I met Roger Taylor, and he was standing there, and he said, I told him, I go, listen, I love what you're doing. I hear you're into Gene Krupa, and I am too. And we get in this lengthy conversation. Meanwhile, everybody's with their cameras flashing everywhere. And I said, we start talking. He goes, man, you're cool. He goes, come on back. And so he marches me back where the curtain is closed at this restaurant where, and there's Freddie at a table, Rod Stewart, Brian May, everybody's there. And I sit with him. He invites me in, here I'm this kid.
Wow.
And that was my experience with Queen. And the mark that they've made, I mean, a lot of people in the Sweet and the Queen, some people think that Queen took their sound from Sweet. So because the high vocals the way it is. And if you really look at it and you see with Sweet, with those early recordings, they had this model. And it just happened to be, maybe it was the producer that said, hey, listen, or maybe they didn't at all. But I think Sweet back in the day felt a little like they took over Queen, really.
Did Freddie acknowledge you when you went into the back room, or do you even remember?
Well, they were all talking, so I just sat at the table, and I was just like,
yeah, for sure. How about the Doors?
Yeah, I have a connection with the Doors too because I played with Robert Krieger a couple times, and so I'm connected to them as well as Paul Rothchild.
Wow.
I was invited to the party for when they released the Doors movie. And so Paul invited me down, for the wrap party of the Doors movie. So that was a great memory as well. And, you know, Jim Morrison, I mean, come on, you know.
I mean, I told my music people that you know everybody, and like I was right. You know everybody, and I'm going to leave the last band because it's a California band, and then the Eagles. So the Eagles.
Yeah, on my records, I use the Eagles horn section. Okay, I use Dickie Sims from Clapton's band plays keyboards. Dickie Sims passed away, but he played on "I Shot the Sheriff," and he played on "Cocaine" and all that. He was in Bob Seger. He's on those early records with Seger too. So, you know, but my producer says, "Hey, let's bring in Chris Mostert and the Eagles horn section for your tracks." And so they came in to I had this big, huge house and studio and stuff. And so then Chris invited me down to the Eagles thing. And then the last thing I did is that Tim, the new bass player, totally tied into the Eagles thing too. And
Wow. Well, give us two things. Give us a lead out, but tell us first your expression on Don Henley, and if you can play a little bit of an Eagles riff. But I don't want to put you on the spot. But tell us a little bit about Don Henley.
Well, Don Henley, I was backstage. I was friends with. I actually had done some work with Jennifer Converse. She was the bass player in Henley's solo. So we were at Universal Studio at the concert, and that's the only time I really met Henley. You know, I met him. Jennifer introduced me to him, and he seems like, but he's such a superstar, and you know, he's that kind of thing. He I don't know if he's quite as fan friendly as some people in this business, but you know, Stevie Stewart, who is my partner in Sweet, he played with the Classic All Stars, which means sometime we got to get him on because you know, all the guys from Boston, Ainsley Dunbar was in that. They had all these guys, and the original bass player from the Eagles was one of his best friends. So you love Stevie. We'll have to get Stevie on sometime. But he's got stories with, and you'll get another perspective from him about Henley and the bass player that ended up leaving the Eagles. Yeah.
This is great, Rich. I really appreciate for sharing your stories. Like they're golden, right? They have to be told. People who love music, I think they love stories just as much as they love the music. So if people want to find out more, like we can talk forever and ever, but like I said, I know you're a busy guy. So if people want to find out more about what's going on, because we have the telethon, I know you got exquisite footage, everything. So where could people go if they want to find out more about you and more about the band?
Well, you go to thesweetband.com, thesweetband.com. Don't just look up Sweet because you might go to the UK version of it, thesweetband.com, and you'll find our website with all the dates. Like, for instance, just for all you Canadians out there, we have 3 dates. We're playing on July 25th at Tabor, Alberta at Cornstalk. And it's with Glass Tiger, and Tom Cochran will be there, and Prism, and that weekend. So that's a good one where you can see our band. And then
When is that?
That is July 25th.
Okay.
And then we'll be in Cranbrook, BC with Saga and Colin James and a bunch of other acts on August 10th.
Wow, Saga and Colin James. Like I grew up with all these guys. Like, wow, that's great.
And then on August 15th, we'll be in Halifax with Honeymoon Suite and Sass Jordan and a bunch of people. We'll be playing there on the 15th of August. So those are
I emceed Honeymoon Suite a couple years ago for them.
Oh, wow.
I emceed their concert. They're great guys. Great guys.
Yeah, they're beautiful.
Yeah. Oh, this is great, Richie. So again, why don't you take us out with a riff of your choice?
Yeah. And also, I just want to let you know, go to thebluesmessenger.com and you'll find me as my solo act, the Richie Honori. So thebluesmessenger.com. But let me see.
Take us out. Then I'm going to come back and wrap the show. But take us out with a favorite lick of yours. That's great. Thanks, bud. Thanks, bud. Okay, Steve, dude, you're watching Wild Child Records. I'll be back to wrap the show. Thanks, Richie.
Love is the only way. Love is the only way. Love is the only way. Take a breath. Let it be alright. Take a breath. Let it be enough right now. Let this moment be what it is. Let this moment be your doorway to bliss. Seeking love, 'cause it's seeking you.
Welcome back to Wild Child Records. What a show that was. I want to thank Richie and Nori from the band Sweet. What a great guy. What a superstar. What a fabulous superstar musician. I want to thank Shay Stebner from Big Records. I want to thank Mark and all those guys. Before I let you go, like I said, we are doing our telethon. We're going to be coming out with more information. The United States is really jumping on board this telethon. So we're getting a lot of details. We're going to be coming out with a date. Everything else is going on. I want to thank the Ontario government as they're going to be sitting down with the Ontario Premier Doug Ford at Queen's Park on March 18th. We're going to be talking about our veterans programs. Do check out our platform, as we're all about providing opportunities to persons with disabilities and veterans through our employment programs and media. We'd love for you to enroll in our next program. Again, you're watching Wild Child Records. We're all about supporting mainstream and independent artists, musicians, whether you're Pink Floyd or Joe Blow. We want to support you. Again, I'm Jay Stoyan. You're watching Wild Child Records. We'll see you next time.
Audio Jungle.